You are always so responsible. You must have saved up a good amount of money, right? How much do you have now? A husband who has been with me for many years flirts with me in a sweet voice. I unintentionally sighed at his words. I didn't feel like responding, but I knew that he would keep asking until I answered. I think there's about 280,000 US dollars in there, but that's not money I can spend as I please. I warned my husband like that. Even though I know that no matter how much I try to keep this husband in check, it's pointless. He never listens to me. Is that so? That next day, after saying that with a satisfied look, my husband disappeared with the ATM card. Fed up with my husband's foolish actions, I picked up the remaining divorce papers. Where on earth did my husband go? No, I don't care about that now. I thought that now is the only time for me to disappear as well. Strike while iron is hot. I decided to act immediately, and then my husband desperately began to look for me. I am Emily Johnson. My husband Tom and I are about to celebrate nearly 50 years of marriage. We were blessed with 2 children, and we named our eldest daughter Catherine and our eldest son John. The children graduated from college and got jobs successfully, and they each have families of their own. People around us must think we have a happy family, but I have been troubled for a long time. That trouble is about Tom. We met through a formal matchmaking. Tom was the child of my father's mentor. To be honest, my first impression of him was not very good. Tom is 2 years younger than me. Perhaps because of that, he looked too ignorant of the world, and the first time we met, I somehow felt he was careless. Moreover, all he talked about was his own bragging. Of course, in the matchmaking, it's important to hear each other's stories to get to know one another, but his stories were not interesting at all. There are a lot of things at the company that don't work without me. I have quite a lot of work, so I end up coming home late. I need someone who understands that. Tom had been saying that from the beginning. To be honest, I wanted to say that I wasn't interested in such a person, but at that time all I could do was force a smile and hide my feelings. Then Tom, seeing my hesitation, pressed me further. You be the older one in the relationship, so you understand all this, right? Could it be that this man is going to marry me, even though all he did was talk about himself one way or another? Is he serious? Well, we'll see. In front of both sets of parents, that was all I could manage to say. They must have understood that I didn't agree with him. But, strangely enough, Tom and his parents liked me very much. My parents were also delighted. Because of that, it became hard for me to say no. It was common at the time for people to marry whoever their parents decided they wanted to marry. Besides, everyone was blessing me so much. Probably as we get married and live together, I will see the best in him. Convincing myself of this, I reluctantly agreed to marry him. What I realized after marrying him was that it wasn't all bad. As much as he bragged, he seemed to do his job very well. He went to work earnestly every day, and although he didn't get promoted particularly quickly, his salary steadily increased. After getting married, we ended up living with Tom's parents, but my father-in-law and mother-in-law were very kind to me. That was about all I could say was good about Tom, but thankfully we were able to live comfortably and peacefully. However, a little after Tom turned 40, our expenses began to increase gradually. When I asked the reason, it was explained that it was because of the company custom where bosses treat their subordinates. Certainly, that might be the case. But at the time, we had an eldest daughter in college and an eldest son in high school. Tom's spending had increased so much that I had to dip into my savings for the children's tuition and living expenses. Of course, I consulted with Tom several times, but all he said was, "I'm leaving the money management to you, so you deal with it." No matter how hard I tried to tell him, Tom would never listen to my pleas. Furthermore, around that time, Tom's parents became ill at the same time, and I even had to bear the cost of caring for both of them. But Tom left everything to me. Even when I begged to hire a helper, he coldly dismissed me, saying, "You're a housewife, right? I won't allow you to waste money. If you really can't, why don't you let Catherine or John help you? Then could you at least help me feed your father? Will you help me with that?" I tried saying that to Tom, but his answer was very disheartening. "If I don't work outside, the family will be in trouble. Taking care of them is not my job." He always made excuses that sounded like varied arguments, but never actually suggested what to do about it. On the contrary, he began to go out drinking more frequently, and the expenses continued to increase. Although I had no intention of having the children help with the care, the two of them, seeing my situation, began to help with the household chores. After my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law followed him. Of course, I was sad, but I must admit I felt relieved to be freed from caregiving. Several years have passed since then. The children have graduated from college, found jobs, and moved out, leaving only Tom and me in the house. Tom retired 5 years ago. Yet, he still goes out drinking often. Therefore, his expenses have not decreased. Fearing that we might not be able to sustain our life at this rate, one day I said to Tom, "Can you please restrain yourself from spending so much money? Even though you've retired, why do you need to go out drinking so often? What's going to happen to our lives?" But Tom looked perplexed at my words. "What's wrong with that? I've worked hard all my life, and I've got my retirement money and pension. Let me enjoy my old age as I like. Even so, there has to be some limit, right? If you spend without thinking, we won't be able to live in the future. We can think about that when the time comes. As always, he wouldn't listen to what I was saying. I was already fed up with Tom. A few days later, "Is something wrong?" Tom was staring at his smartphone screen, frozen. When I casually called out to him while cleaning, he hid his smartphone in a flustered manner. Something seemed suspicious, but I no longer had that much interest in Tom. Cheating, I thought, but who would be interested in an old man like him? Nothing's wrong. Why? He replied and put down his smartphone. I continued cleaning without paying any attention. Then Tom started talking to me. "You were talking about not having money the other day, right? But knowing you, you must have some savings, don't you? How much do you have now?" I involuntarily looked at Tom. He was speaking in a voice that was almost pleading, unlike his usual tone. I was utterly shocked. "You know there's nothing, right? You're the one who's always withdrawing it yourself. So you should know without asking." "No, I mean you must have other accounts, right? Like fixed deposit." Although I tried to dodge the question, I knew Tom would probably keep asking until I answered. Annoyed, I bluntly said, "I think there's about 40 million yen, but that's not money I can spend as I please. If that's gone, we can't survive." I tried to restrain Tom by saying that, but I knew it would be pointless to restrain him. "Is that so?" Tom said, looking satisfied. Although he is my husband, I felt a lamentable feeling, but he is my husband after all. I was sure that in a little while he will ask me for a deposit. I thought so, but that prediction turned out to be wrong. The next day, Tom disappeared, taking the ATM card. At home, only the divorce papers were left behind. How heartless he is. Just because I married him, I wasted so much time in my life. On top of that, I can't believe he is treating me this badly. Taking all the assets and disappearing, it's proof that he didn't care about me at all. Perhaps he was really having an affair. As I write divorce papers, I determined to take revenge on Tom to the very end. Then I moved quickly into action. It was Tom who left the divorce papers and disappeared. The meaning must be clear. After filling for the divorce papers and becoming a clear-cut single person, I felt refreshing for the first time in a long while. And just as I took out my smartphone to call my children, I noticed that there are several missed calls. The one who called was not my husband, but my ex-husband. I could imagine that he is frantically calling me. However, I would not answer the call. If I go home now, we would probably meet face to face. Thinking so, I immediately called my eldest daughter. "Catherine, I'm sorry to call you suddenly." "Mom, what happened?" Then I explained to my daughter what had happened. How Tom disappeared with the ATM card containing all our assets and the seal. How I had just filed for divorce. and how Tom is calling me over and over again. Then my daughter, who seemed not particularly concerned about our divorce, kindly suggested to me, "Then come to my house for now. I think it's better not to see Dad at the moment." I decided to take her up on that offer and head to Catherine's house. Although I arrived at Catherine's house, the intercom rang within 10 minutes. "It must be your dad. What should we do?" "You don't have to answer. Leave it to me." I hid in the bedroom and Catherine headed to the entrance. "Oh, Dad, what's going on?" I could hear Catherine's voice talking at the entrance from here. As I expected, it was Tom. "I thought Emily might be here. Actually, I wanted to ask how to use that ATM card, but I can't get in touch no matter what." "Why are you so in rush? What's going on?" "Actually, I'm having trouble withdrawing money from the bank. That's why I want to get in touch with Emily as soon as possible." Tom explained that to Catherine. He seemed to be in a hurry. I thought, of course, it must be about that. Tom's voice was filled with desperation. Quietly listening to Tom and Catherine's conversation, I smiled smugly. "You can't withdraw money? But I wonder why," Catherine responded, looking surprised. Then Tom began to murmur. "The ATM card is in Emily's name, but for some reason it seems to have been reported stolen. I explained many times that I'm her husband, but the bank wouldn't take me up on it. That's why I want to get in touch with her." From his voice, I could feel his desperation. I almost burst into laughter listening to him. When I realized that the ATM card was missing, I immediately reported the theft to the bank, rendering the card unusable. Thus, even Tom couldn't use the ATM card without my permission. In the meantime, Tom was no longer even my spouse. In other words, only I had the right to use that money. Even after that, Tom continued to talk to Catherine, but he seemed to have left because a phone call came in. When I came out of the bedroom to thank Catherine, she said this to me. "I figured it out. I know why Dad ran away with the ATM card." Upon hearing these words, I almost jumped out of my skin. Since I was in the bedroom, there might have been a conversation I didn't hear. But Catherine seemed to have noticed it when the phone call came that led to my husband's departure. I think Dad must have borrowed money. I heard Angley yelling over the phone, like, "When are you going to pay it back?" "What? That?" I couldn't close my mouth in shock after hearing Catherine's story. Why on earth had Tom taken out a loan? And without even consulting me. What on earth have you done to me? Moreover, the fact that someone was yelling at him over the phone made it seem like it wasn't a legitimate lender. I knew Tom was a weakling, but I never thought it would come to this. Considering that he is looking for you, he might go to John's house next. Shall we contact him just in case? Yes, let's do that. I also got in touch with my eldest son, John. I told him there is no need to deal with his dad, and that I would save, to which he laughed and said, "I get it, finally. He is getting his punishment." It seemed my children already understood their father's selfishness. No wonder Catherine never asked about the reason for the divorce. My sister and I will protect you, Mom. Don't worry anymore. He spoke such kind words to me. I was glad I got divorced. At that moment, I truly felt at peace for the first time. Even after that, the calls from Tom continued, so I turned off my smartphone. I decided to stay at Catherine's house that night, and I was able to spend happy times with Catherine's husband and grandchildren. The next day, the moment I turned on my smartphone, I received a call. I thought it was from a persistent person, but upon closer look, it was from an unknown number. When I answered the phone, it turned out to be a call from the branch of the bank that had issued the ATM card in question. Is something wrong? About the ATM card theft that you reported the other day, since yesterday a suspicious man carrying your ATM card has been visiting our bank. When we checked his address, it seems to be your husband. But when I asked him to come to the bank with you, he said he would not move from here until he could cancel the ATM card. The bank employee said this in a troubled tone. While dumbfounded by Tom's behavior, I apologized to the bank employee, and I added this. Although it is the same current address, I am single. I am divorced from that man, so please do not comply with the cancellation. I will come to change the address and other details in the near future. So, thank you. The bank employee on the phone then reassured me with the words, "Understood. We will protect your deposit thoroughly, so please rest assured." Reluctantly, I got up. I couldn't keep hiding forever. It was time to punish Tom with my own strength. I decided to have Catherine come with me, and I headed to the bank. Tom, who had been shouting in the bank, seemed to have been moved to a separate room. And when we said our names at the reception, we were also left there. As soon as Tom saw us, he stood up and said this. "Where were you yesterday? You ignored my calls, causing me so much trouble. Now hurry up and either cancel that ATM card or give me the money." He shouted arrogantly. The bank employee looked surprised, but tried to calm Tom down. Doesn't he think it's shameful to cause so much trouble to others? Then Catherine apologized to the bank employee and asked, "Could you please give us a little time to take my father home today?" But hearing this exchange, I said the following. "I won't cancel the ATM card, and I won't give you any money. Do you think you're in a position to say that?" "Huh? I'm your husband, so it's natural that you should listen to me, isn't it?" I glared at Tom, who was still acting arrogantly at this point. "Since you left the divorce papers, I've already submitted them to the government office. We're no longer husband and wife, so you can't withdraw my deposit anymore." Upon hearing those words, Tom became furiously angry with a terrifying look on his face. "What are you doing on your own? You're the one acting arbitrarily. You didn't even tell me about that. What have you been spending money on all this time? Why do you know about that?" Tom's face turned pale all at once. At the moment, Tom's smartphone began to ring again. It's probably a call urging him to repay his debts. However, Tom does not answer the phone. Sighing at my pitiful ex-husband, I spoke to him. "Are you okay not answering the phone?" Tom replied with great fury. "Stop nagging, I was just about to answer it." The moment Tom answered the phone, a man's voice came from the other end. "Hello, Mr. Murray. Do you have the money yet?" Can you wait just a little longer? I'm at the bank right now." The voice from the other end was sharp and biting, as Tom stammered his reply. "I see. It's you who will be troubled by the increasing interest, Mr. Murray, so you better hurry." "Okay, please take care of it." And the call ended. Those of us present were left speechless. Even Tom couldn't look at us anymore. Catherine and I sighed at the sight of him. "Staying here will only cause trouble for the bank. Let's go home for now." "Didn't I tell you to give me the money? If you give me the money, I'll go home." Unable to restore the money, Tom's shoulders slumped in defeat. "Dad, let's go home now." At Catherine's urging, Tom finally got up and followed us. "Why did you even get into debt? It's disgraceful. And from what kind of company did you borrow?" Tom was scolded by Catherine in the car on the way home. Tom then began to speak in a low voice. Apparently, after he turned 40, the stress of discussing caregiving when he came home led him to spend time for gambling after work. Before he knew it, he was hooked and continued to visit secretly even after retiring, being nagged about money by me every day. And if it came out that gambling was the cause, the nagging would probably increase even more. But as a husband, he wanted to spend his retirement doing only what he liked. When he won at gambling, could make ends meet with the money, but he eventually ended up in debt. He often checked his smartphone at home because he frequently received notifications about debt repayment. I thought there was no chance of an affair, but that is much worse. It's totally shameful as a daughter. Catherine seemed genuinely disgusted by Tom's behavior. Of course, I felt the same. "How much did you borrow?" Then Tom shouted as if he had snapped. "It's $68,000 US. Hey, why are you getting defiant? I didn't know about this." Finally, Catherine's anger exploded. No wonder. A debt of $68,000 US. Making that much debt without permission was bad enough. But it seems that Tom had asked me about our savings, and even thought that if he could divorce, he could use the remaining $205,000 US for himself in addition to repaying the debt. I was too naive. I'm sorry for causing trouble. It's too late for an apology now, and I no longer care about such a fool. We are strangers now. I don't know you, even if you apologize now," I replied to Tom. When we got home, I began packing my things. As I continued to hurriedly prepare, Tom followed me around like goldfish's droppings. Emily, please don't leave. I truly regret what I've done. Please don't abandon me. Though he clung to me, it was Tom who had abandoned me first. Hey, if you had been able to run off with my 273,000 US dollars as originally planned, did you ever think about what would happen to me? Tom was unable to answer. He probably hadn't thought about me at all. I have no intention of helping him either. Why don't you sell this house and use it to pay off the debt? Well, do your best. Goodbye. Even after that, Tom continued to apologize, trying to hold me back. But my feelings haven't changed. I was surprised to find that I had no feelings left for him. But from the beginning, my words had never resonated with him. It's on both of us, I suppose. After packing up my things, I returned to Catherine's house. Finally, I've lost my bad relationship with that rich guy. Now I have a new life ahead of me. A short time later, a lawyer hired by Tom visited me under the guise of post-divorce property division. How stupid can he be? Instead of wasting money, he should sell the house quickly. The lawyer told me to split the 273,000 US dollars into debt, but I won't let things go as Tom planned. You may not know this, but that debt was created by him behind my back, without my knowledge. So I shouldn't have to split it. Actually, I explained it the same way. The lawyer looked exasperated. Considering him, he probably didn't listen to what the people had to say. Regarding the 273,000 US dollars, this money comes from investing my savings from when I was single. Although I used it for children's tuition and living expenses, it's not to share the property with him, but my money. I think you will understand if you look at the bank transaction history. Is there no shared property between you two? There might be about 3,400 US dollar in savings. Other than that, what can be called shared property is that house. After getting married, we built a relatively large house to live with my parents-in-law, and the loan was tough. In that case, you need to split that house, the lawyer said, smiling wryly. I turned to the lawyer with a big smile and said, "So that's how it is. Please take care of it." Eventually, that house was sold, and half of the proceeds came to me as a property settlement. I told Tom to repay the debt with money from selling the house. If Tom were to pass away as it stands, the children would be the ones to suffer. So I never intended to take the proceeds from the house sale. But the one to blame was greedy Tom. I shouldn't have hired a lawyer. On my end, I just followed Tom's request. The children laughed uproariously when they heard this story. It was discovered that the 68,000 US dollars Tom borrowed had an outrageous interest rate, and thanks to the lawyer, he seemed to have managed to repay the debt. But it was unknown what he was doing now, having lost his house, family, and savings. But As long as he repaid the debt, it doesn't matter what he was doing. After all, nothing good comes from dealing with him. It seems that the eldest son, John, has cut ties with Tom. I think it's the right decision. It appears that he is now living in an apartment and working a daily wage job. I think it's retribution for what he's done, and I hope he does his best. On the other hand, I received an offer to live with Catherine and her family. Thanks to that, I'm living with Catherine and grandchildren, and every day it's so much fun. Catherine's husband is very kind to me and seems interested in my asset management skills, so we talk a lot. Such daily life is very happy for me, who used to lead a life full of nagging and complaints. The only thing that makes me think it was good to marry Tom might be that I was blessed with children. Just the fact that such children are living happy days rewards all my past efforts. Now it's my turn. Life can be changed at any time. Having endured hardships and patience until now, I want to lead a happy life from now on.